Imagine explaining this to a normal person. Yeah, so there's this $60 pedal and it's a knockoff of $3,000 pedal. It got pulled from the market for legal reasons and now it's worth $800. No, not the original, the knockoff. And that's exactly where we are at in the guitar world right now. So what happened? So some time ago, Behringer released a couple of pedals which were copies of highly sought after pedals, including the famous Klon Centaur. And Behringer didn't just copy the pedals, they were full-on copy-paste mode. Here we have same box but smaller, same color, same horseman graphic on the front, and even the same name. And on top of that, they forgot to put their own logo on the front. The pedal was supposed to be the budget player dream, an option for beginners or just guitar players who want to get that clone tone without selling a kidney. People laughed at how shamelessly it copied the original, but then came the lawsuit. The pedal vanished quickly, turning that once cheap box into a collector's piece. Prices skyrocketed not because the tone got suddenly better, but just because it got banned and it became rare. All over a pedal that was supposed to be an affordable way to get the clone tone. It's even more funny when you realize that you can basically buy this exact same pedal, but they changed the branding a bit. The graphic on the front is slightly different and they changed their name to Centaur and also, of course, added their own logo. And let's not pretend here that the original clone is some model of rational pricing either. That thing regularly goes for $3,000 to $5,000, all for a mid-gain overdrive that somehow became the holy grail of guitar tone. But hey, this isn't the first time when the guitar world collectively lost the plot. So let's go back a bit to the Bad Monkey incident. For years, the Digitech Bad Monkey pedal was a cheap pedal, cheap copy of a tube screamer that sat in pawn shops and dusty pedal boards mostly ignored. Then Jay just dropped a video comparing the Bad Monkey to the Klon Centaur, yes, the holy grail of guitar tone, and it sounded surprisingly close. And that's all it took. The prices skyrocketed. And once a cheap pedal became a highly sought after item which people were willing to pay a lot for. And the funny thing is that Jay just wanted to show that you don't need an expensive pedal to get good tones. You can get a cheap pedal and dial in the settings to get your guitar sound pretty close to a very expensive pedal. That's all. And there's another example, the Hello Kitty Squier. Introduced in the 2000 as an entry-level guitar, it initially costed around $100. It was basically a low-tier Squier bullet with a pink or black finish and a Hello Kitty pickguard. Nothing special, just a beginner guitar with a slightly different look. Today, used versions of this simple beginner guitar are selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. All because guitar collectors decided that it's no longer just a beginner guitar, but a collector's piece and something cool and unique. And Squier of course reacted to that hype and introduced the Hello Kitty Squier reissue, which was pretty limited, sold out very quick, and later got listed for way more money. Here I must admit that I'm a bit guilty because I bought the new version of the Hello Kitty Squier, but just because I realized it's actually a very good guitar and I didn't pay crazy money for it. Of course, not all hype comes from YouTube and pedals. Sometimes all it takes is one rock star casually mentioning in an interview that they used some forgotten piece of gear in one of their hit records, and boom, the vintage gear market catches fire like it's been soaking in gasoline. Here enters the Peavey Decade, a tiny solid-state amp from the 80s which originally was pretty cheap. For years it was just a budget amp that mostly teenagers use, annoying their parents at home. Then one day Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age mentioned that he used Peavey Decade as one of the amps to record a couple of tracks. And again, that's all it took, and a tiny budget amp started selling for hundreds of dollars. It became highly sought after and very hard to find right now. The funny thing is that you can get very similar Peavey amps from the same period of time for way less money, and the prices of these didn't skyrocket just because Josh Homme only mentioned the decade one. For example, I bought the Backstage 30 and I can get very good Queens of the Stone Age style tones from it. And the best part, Josh Homme leaned into this and released his own signature version of the decade, because why not? Still not convinced that the guitar world has gone completely off rails? Let's talk about the JHS Notadumble, a DIY kit promising Dumble-style tones on a budget. Shortly after release, Josh Scott posted a YouTube video explaining that he copied the wrong circuit. Once JHS realized the mistake, they pulled the kit and promised that the new version is coming soon. But that mix-up actually sent the prices through the roof. The original kits started to sell for hundreds of dollars online, not because they were better, not because they were rare vintage gear, but because they got pulled, limited, and now have the wild story attached. So what did we learn from all this? That the gear that's originally designed to be accessible and affordable can overnight transform to an insanely rare and expensive collector's item. Sometimes it's not even about the gear itself, but the story, the hype, and maybe even a random mention from a well-known musician. The guitar world is a fascinating mix of passion, nostalgia, and pure unpredictability. It's messy, it's weird, and it sometimes defies any logic. Yet somehow, every time a new wave of hype hits, guitarists dive right in, excited as ever. And honestly, no matter how many times this cycle repeats, it seems like guitar players are never going to learn. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to share your thoughts on this topic in the comments below. Also remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, ring the bell to be notified when I post new videos, and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye.